Hi guys, Rosina Bond here. Now, yesterday I turned 53 and I woke up thinking how my life had changed. And I got to thinking about some of the points in my life, some of the things that profoundly affected my life. And the one thing that really stood out was when I learnt numerology, because numerology changed everything for me. And I'm going to explain why to you. Now, I grew up in a household that was very sensitive to spirit. And because it was sensitive to spirit, my mother was a medium. She worked full time. She was a professional in her trade, and she was also from a long line of women. So I'm fourth generation that have been working spiritually in some shape or form for many, many years. So as you can imagine, there was quite a bit of pressure. I also had to discover how to use a special tool, as in I was shown everything. I was taught how to use the tarot, how to scry with salt in a mirror, how to use psychometry, which is what you do when you hold a piece of jewelry and you get the information from the vibrations of that person wearing that piece. And that is actually how my mother worked. She used to hold jewelry. She was a psychometrist and she used to work in this way. And she had an incredible practice. She was booked 3 months ahead. She just had this most amazing way of telling people what she saw in really in-depth detail. But for me, there was a lot of pressure, and I also had to learn something, and I got thrown in the deep end. It was just expected. She said, "This is one of the best things I can ever do for you, to show you how to work intuitively as a woman. And when you do this, everything will change in your life, because it gives you the power and ability to make decisions." And she was so right. So I went along my merry way following what she'd said, and she used to do things like set me up with some of her clients. Now, she had a 3-month waiting list, and of course, all they wanted to do was get to her quick, because they would have been going through something. But they couldn't get to her because it was impossible. You had to wait for 3 months. So she started setting me up with appointments, and these poor people would come and sit in front of me, and I would start to explain things, and of course I'd lose my confidence. I'd lose my thread and where I was headed. And she would step in and finish it off, which is what they wanted. They only wanted to get to her. But over time I learnt that I did have an ability. I could see things. But for me, none of these tools really helped. And then my mother died. Imagine. It was like I lost a piece of my soul. And when I went through that, she really empowered me. I'm so glad she taught me all of those things, because it really helped me step out and begin a path of discovery. And when she died, I met someone who was a friend of hers, who was a numerologist. And she started to tell me why numerology was so good. I didn't quite understand it, but I agreed to do a course with her. I had a really busy mind, and that was one of the things that always kept me from doing what I needed when I worked with people, because I would get an instinct, and then my mind would kick in and then overtake, and I would overthink everything, and of course it would all fall apart. But as I started to learn numerology, and each week we would learn about each number, I finally got to me, and the number 6. And the number 6 said, you're an overthinker, and you need to take control of your thoughts. You need to learn the power and strength of your thoughts, and how much ability this can bring to you, and how it can profoundly change your life. And I also read that I'm here to be responsible. I must be responsible. Now, the moment I read that, I got it. I got that I needed to be responsible, but I also understood what my mother had taught me for all of those years, that my mind was my strength. It was the gateway to my psychic ability. And by harnessing it and using it and really empowering myself, I could actually do what I wanted to do. Now, at that time, I wasn't working spiritually. I was learning, and I went on an incredible journey of discovery. I learned all sorts of things. I went through all of the practices that she taught me, but numerology was the one. Now, I started to see in places that I worked that the numbers helped me work with people. I could see how they felt, how they thought, and I would actually start working in their strengths. And I had a team that I managed So I put numerology into practice with that team, and the results were just profound. We reached all our targets because we worked as a team, but we also worked with each other's strengths. Now, of course, as life went on, and I had 2 daughters, and my daughters, I again saw that if I worked with what they were here to achieve and how they functioned, one of them was an overthinker and one of them needed confirmation. So I used to spend time making sure that I did what was right for them. And through numerology, I understood my children and I helped them. And they're really beautiful, confident women today because of that. I know that. And also my relationship with my husband, he's not a communicator. And for the first time when I read that numerology, I understood that having a sit-down, face-to-face heart with him was pointless. I wouldn't get anywhere. It would just be a terrible thing. It would put us both under pressure. So I started to communicate with him the way it was a strength for him. And you know, we have the most incredible relationship. And I put this all down to learning and understanding numerology. Numerology shows you who you are. It shows you your traits, your lessons. And your responses and reactions to people are because of these lessons. And now my passion in life is I work as a mentor. I'm a numerologist. Of course, I have a lot of psychic ability. But my numerology is still my go-to point. It's the place where I start off. It's my power place. And I'm now teaching numerology, and I would love you to join me. I'd love you to join me and let me show you your strengths, your positive aspects, why you respond the way you do, and of course your family, your friends, and the people that you are in relationships, why they're there. There's the most in-depth information. I'm offering an introductory course, which is basically what I was shown when I first kicked off, and I'd love you to be a part of that. Now, as you can see, I'm absolutely passionate, fully engaged about numerology. And I'd really love you to be a part of that with me. And it's a 9-week course, and of course, it's there to show you the traits of each number. I want you to have a conversation with them. When I started learning about numerology, I took it to the next level. I read it emotionally, and I want conversations with them so I understand the people in my life. And I started relating them to the people in my life. And I was surrounded by the number 3, males, and they are here to learn from the opposite sex, but they have a lot of fear and they worry about money. And I started to see all of these patterns in people, but I started to work with them. And of course, now working full-time, doing what I love, this is my passion, I see through numerology how I can understand people. It gives me confidence to just start off. I can meet a stranger, get their date of birth, and literally just kick off with that numbers. I know exactly where they're at, how they function, and it's an opening point, it's a starting point. I can start a conversation with someone to help and empower their life, and I want to do the same with you. So join me in Conversations in Numerology, where we will learn and I will share my teaching of numerology from an emotional, powerful perspective. Something that can, if you use it for nothing else, just to understand why you're here, what your traits are and how powerful they are, then I've done my job. But if you want to take it further and you want to build a business of your own, then this is the beginning, this is the starting point. And I really look forward to you introducing yourself to me and being a part of Conversations in Numerology. Have a fabulous day.